GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey, this is April Hunter, and you are listening to the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vega.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rockstar Robbie Vegas. Welcome back to the All Bets Are Off podcast. Thank you for joining me again. And today, my guest is Foxy Foxxy. So Foxy is somebody that I just recently met, within the last few months at least, up in Excite Wrestling in Binghamton, New York. So we're going to talk some Excite. We're going to talk about her career. She got started a while ago, actually. You guys are going to be surprised to hear about how long ago and where she started and all that. So before we get going, I do want to remind you guys to please give us a 5-star review and leave us a rating and subscribe to the show. All of those things help the algorithm out, helps the show pop up, and we really appreciate the help that you guys provide for us by giving us those things. So please do that for us. We greatly appreciate it. And follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ABAO Pod. And let's get Foxy on the line. So Foxy, thank you for being here on the All Bets Are Off podcast. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'm glad to be here.
This is going to be fun because I was just saying in the intro, which you didn't hear, that I just recently met you within the last few months. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to know the answer to anything that I'm asking you today.
That's true.
So let's just start back at the beginning. Now, when did you actually break into the wrestling business?
Oh, God. I started training in October of 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, and I made my actual debut in October of 1999, just shy of my 18th birthday.
That is incredible. You've been in the business for that long.
Yeah. Well, I took a break. I did take a break from like 2010 to just this past April.
Oh, okay. Was there a specific reason for the break, or?
Partially because I got pregnant with my second son, and partially because the people around that time where I was working were just really bad people.
Oh, okay. I know how that goes. Mm-hmm. But let me say this. So you start training in 1998, and we're in 2022 right now, and you look like you're about 21. So explain this to me.
It's the sacrifices of virgin blood.
Ah, yes.
That do it for me. Secret satanic rituals by midnight. Things like that. Hence
starting in October around Halloween time.
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard that so much. Like one of the fans that's a mom at Excite Wrestling, I was talking with her at the last show, and I mentioned my oldest son's age, and she looked at me like I was this teen mom type thing. I'm like, no, I'm 40. It's fine. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Don't worry about it.
Oh my God, that's great. So when you started training, where did you go?
I started training at East Coast Professional Wrestling out here in Jersey. Because this was like at the dawn of the internet. So it was really hard to find wrestling schools, but they ran a lot of indie shows local to me. And through them, I found out that they had a wrestling school. So it was located up in Parsippany, and that was like my home base for a very long time before branching out into so many other places.
So how did you actually discover indie wrestling? Because you were already going to shows then, I take it?
A couple, yeah. It was all purely by accident, actually.
How does that happen? How do you stumble upon indie wrestling?
Because, it was the height of the Attitude Era.
Okay.
So, indie wrestling was huge because fans just couldn't get enough wrestling anywhere. So, more and more shows just started happening in and around the area. And they weren't that far from where I lived, so it was a matter of, all right, let's just go check this out one Saturday night. And let's go again next month. And let's go again next month. And then from there, it just all snowballed.
And you got into wrestling during the Attitude Era, or were you already watching it prior to that?
I was watching it prior to that. I first wanted to be a manager when I'd seen Miss Elizabeth. back in
wow.
the day. Yeah. And I kind of gave up on the idea of wanting to do it for a long time because, you know, they had certain standards back then, you know, tall and blonde and super skinny. And I'm like 5'2" and my hair is brown and I still got like baby fat. So I gave up. And then it wasn't until like 96 when my dad told me to watch ECW. Yeah. So he told me to check out ECW one night. I'm like, all right, fine. And I did. And like, it just reignited in me because I'm like, these girls are awesome. These girls do more than what I'm used to seeing and they're average and I could do this again. I'm going to do this again. So around the Attitude Era was when that was picking up and then indie wrestling boomed. And yeah, so it was like, I was like in the, I want to say maybe at the height of when it all was happening.
So you said that Miss Elizabeth was one of the first people you noticed, but who would become inspiration for you later on when you got back into it?
Funnily enough, because I ended up managing Tommy Dreamer this year, Beulah McGillicuddy was my number one.
Oh, wow.
Sunny, also, you know, Tammy Sitch, she was another one, yeah. The list as well, because she was huge with ECW.
Oh, God, yeah.
And the unfortunate late Daphne was another one, because I was the goth girl in high school, so to see Daphne on screen was like, yes!
Yeah, well, you're the goth girl now. You're sitting in a basement.
I am, with all my old dolls and... Yeah.
So I got to ask you this then. Where did you, or why did you start using the name Foxy?
Jimi Hendrix.
I love
Everything's
Jimi.
very music influenced. Everything. So Jimi Hendrix was one of the reasons why I chose Foxy. Another it stemmed off of like a 90s indie film called Foxfire with Angelina Jolie.
Oh, cool.
And for some reason, I was so drawn to the movie that I'm like, I'm just going to cut this in half and turn it into Foxy. I could do that. And like the whole movie was based on like a flame. So I got like the flame tattoo from the movie. I made flames part of my gear back then. I encompassed like the whole spiel.
And then when you become Foxy Foxxy, does that have anything to do with Rob Zombie?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I changed my name like maybe 2 weeks before that single dropped.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was just fate.
Are you a Zombie fan?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Then that worked out great.
Yeah, I saw him live like 2 months ago again. It was like,
Oh, man, I'm jealous. I've never seen him.
Oh, he's so fun live.
I
so
bet.
Fun.
I've heard. Now, I want to, so you were inspired by, you know, Daphne and Miss Elizabeth and Tammy Sitch and Beulah McGillicuddy, but there's one thing that I know that bothers you and I want you to talk about it.
Oh.
You are not a valet.
No.
You are a manager.
Yes.
You need to tell my listeners the difference and why that is a pet peeve of yours.
Okay. Historically, females would be labeled valets and men would be labeled managers. And it was purely like a gender-based thing. And it always bothered me because the male managers would be, you know, cutting promos for their wrestlers or getting involved in the matches and getting in the ring and going above and beyond. And, you know, the women at that time, with the exception of like Sensational Sherry, they were just, you know, walking their guy out and standing there and really not contributing when they could have. It wasn't until, like I said, like the time around when Sunny came along and she was cutting promos for Candido and the women of ECW getting into the ring. I'm like, that's manager work.
Yeah.
That's not valet work. That's manager work. They're managers. And when I started training as a manager and a wrestler so I could do all of that stuff. And it always bothered me to be called a valet just because, oh, she's a female manager, she's a valet. When it's like, no. Mm-hmm. I get in the ring. I will cut a promo on social media. I will cut a promo, you know, in the ring. Mm-hmm. And I also go above and beyond, even so, like what that is. Like with Cade, you know, I bring his wrist tape. I literally handle the business side of things where if people have dates, I cross-reference them in the calendar. Mm-hmm. Or if someone hits us both up for a podcast simultaneously, I'm messaging him, letting him know what's up. Mm-hmm. We try to coordinate with clothing because I'm very old school like that. I try to match with what, you know, my guy wears.
Oh, yeah.
And it just still bugs me till this day, the whole valet thing. Because it's like, no, you're not watching. You're not paying attention, are you? There's a stark contrast.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And that was one of the first things I wanted to talk about purposely, just to get that out of the way, because you are a manager and you're a very good manager at that. And
Thank you.
Saturday, I saw that firsthand. I was out there the whole time while you were out there, and you did fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I got to ask you, though. So, again, I'm not going to know a lot of this stuff because we just met, but now, have you had matches? Did you, you said you trained to be a wrestler and a manager, so did you mainly focus on the manager aspect always?
I did wrestle for a while. There was a stint from maybe 2004 to about maybe 2005, 2006, where I was wrestling full time. But I wasn't as passionate about it as I was with managing.
Okay.
I loved the whole, I get my own entrance music. I love wearing the gear. But doing a whole 10, 15-minute match, and it just wasn't my thing. I don't mind doing a mixed tag or an intergender or a one-off here and there, but to do it full time, I could not do it. I wasn't excited about doing it.
No, I mean, that makes sense because, the best managers, growing up that I would watch were just managers, and it's a full-time thing to focus on.
Absolutely. I love the whole thing about managing that I love the most is that you're in the match without being in the match. And it takes a certain level of concentration. The fans, the ref, the opponent, your wrestler, possibly another manager. And it's a lot to take in all at once.
Yeah.
But somehow I manage it. I don't know how, because my concentration is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. But for that 15 to 10 minute stint, I could do it. And it's a lot to take. I compare it to driving because, when you drive, you have to pay attention to pedestrians and your blind spot and your rear view and who's behind you. It's exactly like driving.
Well, yeah, I hope you're paying attention when you're driving.
Depends.
Well, actually, oddly enough, I started as a manager, so I totally understand what you're talking about.
See, you get it.
I do. So I got to ask you, though, so when you got out of wrestling you said from 2010 until just recently, did you completely get out of wrestling, or were you still keeping up, watching it, all that?
I kept up with it because I still had a lot of friends in wrestling. I still watched it. Wrestling is a big thing in our house because, I did it, my husband did it, and I grew up with it. So it's still a very big thing in the house. It was hard, though. It was really hard because I hated how I left. I felt like I was pushed out because of the people that were surrounding me at the time.
Oh, okay.
And for a while, I didn't want to come back. I was really bitter. I hated wrestling, and watching my friends do it just made me really jaded. And over the course of the whole COVID quarantine thing, I started writing about it more. I had started writing a memoir about my time in indie wrestling, and it really helped with healing a lot of the things that happened to me and for me. And I came to a place at peace where it's okay, if I get asked to ever do this, I think I would do it again, just to end it how I wanted and get that run that I wanted.
Yeah.
And then Cade started messaging me around February, bugging me. He's like, hey, do you want to manage again? I'm like, no. Hey, do you want to manage again the next month? I'm like, I'll think about it. And it finally came to March. He's like, will you manage me? I'm like, yes. Yes, I'll do it. Let's do it.
And is that for Excite?
No, it was actually for a company that was supposed to have other shows, but they only ended up doing one.
Oh.
And we did the one show, and it all came back. It's like riding a bike. You never really forget. It was all still in there, and it was great. And I looked over at him in the locker room, and I'm like, I want to work for Excite now. And he brought me on to the next Excite show, and I've been there since. I love it there. What was supposed to maybe have been one show a month, because that's what I told myself. I'm like, I'll do a show a month. Not a big deal. I'm now almost doing something every week.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, you're kind of back in it full swing right now. Do you have an end game, or are you just riding it until however long?
I'm just riding it. I mean, even back then, I called myself a lifer because when they folded, my whole thing was just I'll be a lifer in indie wrestling because I just love being a part of it. I've never wanted the WWE thing or the TNA thing, and even now with AEW, it's like, whatever. I love what I'm doing now. I love the people that I've been around. So as long as I'm having fun, I will ride this out until I'm not having fun.
I love that. I mean, it's that wrestling bug. Once it bites you, you're kind of in it until you can't be in it. You know, not so much walking away from it, but physically can't be in it.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you then. So give me some of your favorite moments and memories throughout the years, because you've been in the business for a long time. So I'm assuming you've come across some pretty amazing people and had some cool stuff go on.
Oh God, definitely. Well, I guess I'll start with the most recent. The most recent was getting to manage Tommy Dreamer at Excite for Speedy Fest. Because, again, I was huge ECW mark. I still am. Like, I Man in the Box hit, and I died inside. So I'm like, this is actually happening. But otherwise, early in my career, I managed Gangrel.
Oh, wow.
Just after he had left WWE, so it's still fresh as him being Gangrel and part of the Brood. So I got to manage him, and that was amazing, because I was doing a whole goth thing at the time as well.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not, Kate and I actually worked briefly around 2007-ish up in Long Island as a whole little goth forms group with Mikey Whipwreck.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, so we have like very brief history where we used to work together prior to all of this now. And that was always fun, because working with someone like Mikey Whipwreck, you never know what to expect. Ever. Ever. Oh my God, there's so many. Let me see. Back in the day, there's a company I work for right now called Ace. They're here in New Jersey. I actually worked for them when they first started out in like 2001-ish, because I knew the promoter from when I was much younger. And he was the one that convinced me to wrestle full time for a little bit, and even went so far as like made me his first women's champion. I don't know if that's in their record books or not, because it was so brief. But like, I'll always hold that one like to myself, whereas I was that first women's champion. So
that's really cool. That's awesome. No, that is. So you mentioned earlier that a lot of the stuff that you do has to do with like music and all that. So do you find yourself getting pumped up with music before you go out there? Because I know you were doing it on Saturday, but that was also for a specific reason.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Oh, okay.
All the time. Like,
so,
yes.
Do you have a certain playlist?
I do.
Oh, I got to hear some of it.
I do. I made myself like my own personal playlist called like Feral Foxy. So it's like just all like just a bunch of random songs that would more attribute to my character itself. But I listen to like so much. Like right now I'm in a big big metalcore vibe lately. So it's been a lot of Ice Nine Kills and a lot of Motionless in White.
Oh, cool.
But usually I'll go to things like The Cult. Firewoman was my very first entrance music. So Firewoman is like my number one.
That's an amazing song. I love that song so much.
So that one's always top of my playlist is Firewoman. That's the one that gets me into the zone, completely pumped up.
So now I'm gonna switch gears on you one more time, and we're gonna just jump into horror movies real quick.
Yeah.
Because we have matching Elvira beanies.
Yes. We have the whole box.
We have the whole box set. But so when did you get into horror movies?
Very, very young.
How young are we talking?
Maybe 6.
Okay, yeah.
I had cable in my bedroom for some godforsaken reason. I don't know why.
That's dangerous.
It is. And I would stay up late and watch like all the old ones like Prom Night, like Freddy Krueger, he's my number one. I would watch all the Elm Streets. And technically, I was exposed to horror at a much younger age. And this explains a lot about me now, because I was forced to watch The Exorcist when I was really young.
Oh my God, that's a terrible movie to be forced to watch.
It is. And the whole thing about it was I was watching it with my grandmother, and she had told me, if you ever sin, that's going to happen. I'm like,
oh man.
What?
Jeez. So does that movie still like freak you out to this day?
Absolutely. I freak out if I see just Linda Blair in general, because I saw her at a Chiller Theater years ago out of makeup, and I still freaked out. I can't do it. Wow. So it started that young, and then I became this weird goth person who like loves the occult and all horror movies. It's like, I think that's where it all went wrong.
Yeah, right. So do you find horror movies have ever inspired you within wrestling?
A little bit, yes. When I was doing my whole goth stint, I would reference like horror movies here and there. Mm-hmm. When I was doing the goth stint, I actually altered my name to Foxy Dreams, which was half inspired by Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams and half by like, you know, the whole Krueger thing.
Okay.
It was because of the Elm Street films that I just got interested in dreams in general. So like I definitely took inspiration from that. And there were a couple times where I would, you know, quote like Elm Street 4 in like a promo here and there, and nobody would get it. Like, oh, great.
Well, have you ever done any like horror-inspired ring gear or anything like that?
Unfortunately, I have not.
There's still time.
I've done photo shoots.
Oh, okay.
Like I did a whole Femme Clockwork Orange deal once.
Oh, wow.
And I think I did another one with all blood. Like it was kind of based off of like I Spit on Your Grave.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That movie messed me up.
Right?
I remember seeing that one for the first time. I was messed up for like a week.
I had no idea what to expect. I'm like, oh, this seems interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing. I just knew it was a classic, and I was like, well, you got to see all the classics.
Exactly.
Hey, everybody. This is Lauren Marie Taylor, creator and host of the Not the Final Girl podcast. Okay, so every horror fan remembers the final girl, right? You know, the one who can outrun and outsmart the Jasons, the Michaels, the Chuckies. I think you get it. But what about the girls and, yeah, the guys who met with an untimely end? Those of us who were tortured and tripped, dragged and killed. Don't we deserve some props? As Vicky in Friday the 13th Part 2 and Sheila in Girls Night Out, I know what a drag it is to succumb to those masked and wardrobe-challenged killers. To not be the final girl. On my new podcast, I'll be chatting with other women of horror who share the same fate. Special guests include those final girls as well as the writers and directors who created our characters, only to give us an early expiration date. And if they play nice, we'll let some of those crazed killers of horror tell their side of the story. So join me, Lauren Marie Taylor, on the Not the Final Girl podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get the alerts when the episodes drop. Thanks for listening. Keep your doors locked and stay out of the woods.
Back to wrestling. You're back in it now, and is there like a wish list or bucket list or anything like that of things that you'd still like to do or anything like that, or anybody you'd like to work with?
Oh, wow. I don't know. Because, I mean, everything that's happening now, I didn't even expect to happen. Like I said, getting to manage Dreamer, that one came out of left field. I got to work with Danny Doring finally, because we've been friends for God knows how long. We finally got a chance to work together at Excite recently.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've worked with Francine once before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we had a cat fight. It was amazing.
Old school ECW, huh?
Yes, having a cat fight with the queen of the cat fights. It was like so surreal. I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, there's so many people out there, past and present, that are just amazing that it's really hard to pinpoint.
I mean, that's fair. And you did say that, you wanted to do once a month, and now you're pretty booked up. So what companies are you working for currently?
Let's see. There's Excite. Kate and I work with Tough Intelligent Wrestling up in Connecticut, VPW in Long Island, Ace Wrestling here in New Jersey, where I live, for everybody wondering. I'm a Jersey girl. The accent hasn't come out yet.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. You should hear me when I'm mad. It's horrible. I'm in talks with another federation up in upstate New York, but I'm not going to say anything because that's not a definite yet. And then there's, I forgot the name, the one that's in November, upstate. I can't remember what it was.
In upstate New York?
NTW, Northern Tier.
Oh, Northern
Tier Wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we're going to work with them in November.
And they're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's huge. That's a lot of companies for somebody who just wanted to come back once a month.
I I know, right?
So,
Whoops.
When you were getting the itch and you were getting ready to come back, are you watching, like, I know you're keeping up with the indies because of all your friends, but are you watching WWE and now AEW and things like that?
Yes and no. AEW, I only watch sporadically because usually by the time Wednesday rolls around, it's like, oh God, more wrestling. Mm-hmm. Like I have a limit, kind of like Marvel movies. I have a limit.
Yeah, for sure.
I usually will watch Monday Night Raw. I should be watching it actually now, unless they're DVRing it, because Elias is supposed to return, and I love him.
I do too.
Right? Usually, though, I'll catch clips on YouTube of the people that I'm more interested in seeing, because again, concentration. I can't sit through a 3-hour show with commercials anymore.
No, I understand. I actually...
So I'll
I purposely DVR Raw so that I can just fast forward through the commercials.
Right? There's so many. And then, of course, YouTube has ads now, so that doesn't make it any better. But I'll hop on right afterwards and I'll check out things like whatever the women did, because I'm always on top of women's divisions just to see how much more it's growing. Because when I started, there was no such thing as a women's division, and women's wrestling had no respect.
Right.
So I will always catch whatever the women are doing. And then, of course, like, so there's Elias and whoever else is just seems... And I go based off of looks. I'm not even going to lie. Like, if you look cool, I'll give you a shot. I'll watch you.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a big part of the wrestling business that people tend to pretend that it's not, but it really is. Like, you have to have a certain look because it contributes to that it factor, so I totally understand that.
Absolutely. Like I'm really big on Dexter Lumis because of that whole, like, American Psycho thing. Mm-hmm.
100%.
That's the first thing that caught my attention. I'm like, oh, he's psycho. I like it.
Well, so as a manager and somebody who cuts a lot of promos and has cut a lot of promos, who do you feel right now out there is at the top of their promo game, man or woman, doesn't matter?
Ooh, well, damn.
We ask the hard-hitting questions on this podcast.
You do. I would have to say, I mean, this might sound stereotypical, who knows, but like Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch right now, holy hell.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, like they know how to reel it in, but like get just enough where you're like, okay, are they like really saying this? Or is this like fake? Or like, I hate using the F word, but it's like, wow, how legit, like they make you wonder.
I agree. I totally agree.
And
especially lately.
If you can make someone go, all right, how much of this is legit, then you're doing your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially somebody who, like, we're workers. If we're getting worked, then it's pretty good.
Exactly.
So, 2 more things before I get you out of here. First one, what do you have coming up? Plug some shows that you have coming up in November.
Okay. Yeah, November 19th is VPW, Disorderly Conduct in Bayshore, New York. And then November 26th, I want to say. Yes, November 26th is Northern Tier Wrestling in Sayre.
Sayre, yeah.
I'm saying that right. Yeah, yep. Sayre, Pennsylvania. And Saturday, November 5th, we have Excite Wrestling up in Johnson City, New York.
Yes, we do. See you there.
I'm taking that as like my super belated birthday celebration show.
Oh, okay.
Because my birthday is on October 25th, but I'm not going to be around anybody. So November 5th is going to be my unbirthday and just celebrate it there.
Got it. I love it. So, final thing that I want you to tell my listeners is where they can follow you so they can keep up with, all your shows and things like that and come out and see you. Absolutely.
On all social media platforms, I go under Viva Foxy Foxxy. That's VIVA FOXY FOXXY. That's my name on TikTok, which I'm just starting to get the hang of.
I don't have one of those.
That's my name. You know what? I used to watch just the videos, but now I'm starting to get the hang of how to use it. So it's like, oh, this is fun. Yeah, that's also my Twitter handle, and that is also my Instagram handle, which I'm on Instagram more than any other social media. And I create a million playlists just for fun. So if anyone hits up Spotify, just find Foxy Foxxy, and there's like playlists for everything.
I love it.
That I constantly push those on social media too, because we've met. I'm music heavy, so it's like I make a playlist for everything.
I love that though. I really do, because I'm a music guy. So
Yes, you are.
So I got to say, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for doing it. Again, short notice. We talked about it yesterday. I got you on today.
I know, that was fast.
Well, I mean, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, we can make that happen immediately. No problem. But it was awesome watching you at the Binghamton Wrestling Con. I thought you did a great job. And, I'd seen you at Excite and things like that, but that was the first time I actually got to hang out and just fully watch after my match was already over. And I thought you were great.
Thank you.
Not a problem. So I will see you November 5th for your birthday celebration.
Hell yeah.
All right, Foxy, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, listeners, one more time, that was Foxy Foxxy. So make sure you're following her on social media. Check her out. She's all over the place. We're talking Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island. So make sure, if you get a chance, check her out. She is very good at what she does. I promise you guys you will love it. For anybody who doesn't already know who she is, what a long time in the business, and what a fun interview we had today. So I thank you guys for joining us, and we will catch you guys next week on the All Bets Are Off podcast.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.